Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we'll Masechtas Kiddushin daf Lamed Beis. We're going to begin on the bottom of Lamed Aleph and Beis, 3 lines from the bottom. Tanur Ezehu Moira, Vezu Kibud. We say you're supposed to fear your parents, honor your parents. Exactly what does that entail? So Moira, fear is don't stand in their place, don't sit in their place, don't contradict them, and do not weigh in. Says Rashi, let's say your father and a chacham are arguing. Don't say, oh yeah, it sounds like he's right. Don't weigh in. Don't get involved. Kibud is or it says on the side, Manile. So you're supposed to feed them, give them drink, clothing, bring them in, bring them out. So the Gemara wonders, when it comes to this mitzvah of honoring your parents, as we again continue along with Beis Aleph, Mishal Mi, who has to actually pay for this food? So you have an obligation to feed your parents, but do you actually have to go to the supermarket and be the one that buys the food for them, or do they have to pay for the food? They supply the food and you have to prepare it for them. So Mishal Ben, the son has to buy the food. Rav Nassim the father does. So Rav Yirmiyah. So he passed and he said, some say it was liberated Rav Yirmiyah, Commandi Amr Mishel Av, that he held that it's actually the father, the parents are the ones that actually pay. The child doesn't have to pay. The pasuk says, honor your parents. You have to honor Hashem with your wealth. So just like when it comes to serving Hashem, you have to spend money. You have to buy a lulav, you have to buy a sukkah. Kosher food's not cheap, right? So too when it comes to with your parents. So if it's your father that's fitting the bill, so my nafkulimine. So what does that mean? What's a chisaron kis? Well, bittul molacha. When it comes to bittul molacha, in other words, in order for you to be able to make that food, there's an opportunity cost because you could be making money doing something else. Tashma beis achim. You have two brothers. Shnei shutfin, two partners. Or Av B'noi, our focus is on this. You have a father and a son. Harav Talmidu, teacher and a student. Paidin Zelazeh Meiser Sheni. They can redeem each other's Meiser Sheni. Now Meiser Sheni, again, is years 1, 2, 4, and 5, supposed to be brought to Yerushalayim. Says Rashi, Im Yeshul Av Meiser Sheni. If let's say the father has Meiser Sheni, Paida Haben Mishaloi, the son can redeem it. Watzarach Av B'loi Chaimish, and he will not have to add the additional fifth. Which normally, when it comes to pidyon, they don't tell you the additional fees. There's a fee that you have to pay a fifth, but not here. We don't say we don't say that this child is like the father. We don't say it's like he was being poided himself. So therefore, the fact that the son did it, so you don't have to be moisav chaimish. And then the Gemara says, you could also feed each other Meiser Ani in years 3 and 6. As Rashi, ben Meiser Ani, if the son has Meiser Ani, if the father was poor, you can give your father food from there. Now, ben, if you want to tell me that when it comes to Meiser Ani, or when it comes to Kibbutz, you have to spend money, the son has to spend money. So it doesn't make sense. He's causing the other Aniyim to lose out because he has a chiyuv anyway to do kibbud avim and spend money. So what's he doing? He's taking his Meiser Ani money and using that to feed his father. But that doesn't seem right if it's Mishal Ben. Where it says no, it still is Mishal Ben. So how is he allowed to do it? Well, tzricha hadafa, as we often hear. Says Rashi. You're right. When it comes to the regular meal, the father, the son, let's say, has to pay. And he has to pay with his own money. However, when it comes to Meiser Ani, he's allowed to give his father Meiser Ani when it comes to extra food, but not the food itself. Rabbi Yehuda says, there should be a curse, someone who gives his father such food. Now, if all you're doing is giving him a dafa, the extras, so my nafkamina, why is it a big deal? So I feel it's still embarrassing. So you should therefore not only not use Meiser Ani money in general, because you're not allowed to, because you're supposed to be using your own like chulin money, if you will, to honor your parents by feeding them. So certainly, and also hadafa, tashma. Okay, actually, let's look at question 4. Haya aviv ani ha'im mutar achilu mimais meiser sheni. Meiser sheni. Maybe it should say meiser ani. It's a good question. Why did it say meiser sheni? Maybe it should say meiser ani. So the answer is, again, it's totally on what the din is. So it is the ikr mezainis is kibun mishal av or mishal ben. Well, hadafa mutter, and the hadafa is mutter. Ulam tava ma'ira izila be milta. Okay, so therefore, again, if it's Michelle Av, if the father's the one that has to pay for it, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to give him Meiser Ani. But as Michelle Ben, you're not allowed to, but except for maybe Hadafa. Okay. Fighter. Tashma. Shalosh Rabbi Lezer. Ad heichen kibud avim. How far do you have to honor your parents? Abraham kadei sheyitol arniki. If he takes your money, he is rukenu yam, and he throws into the sea. B'fanav veinu machlimoy, and you don't embarrass him. You say nothing. Now v'yam and Michelle Av. If let's say it's your father's wallet, so then my nafikle mine. How is that such a big proof? It's not your money anyway. So your father threw out his own money. The answer is beroyal yarsho. You can still be upset because he's throwing away his money into the sea, like he's spending money on all these trips, going on all these cruises, right? He's throwing his money into the sea, and all of a sudden you're not going to have any money when he dies. You'll have nothing left. You're going to get upset about it. Doesn't matter. Don't get upset about it, even though, again, maybe the din is the Mishalav. The Chiha de Rabba bar Rav Huna de Rav Huna kar shiroi bi'anpe Rabba b'rei. So Rav Huna ripped fine silk in front of Rabba, his son. Armor Azel, I want to go and see. Ichsi, Azel Ichsi, I want to go and see. Irasach ilo rasach. I want to see if my son is easily angered. What if he does get angry? So you're causing him to stumble, and that's not allowed. Why would you cause your son to sin? The machale likare. So the father said, "I'm moichel my covet." So if he says something disrespectful to me, I'm moichel, because the father's allowed to be moichel in his covet, as we'll see. What do you mean? You're ripping a garment. So the avad be bapumbaini. That what he did is he ripped it on the seam, like on the hem. So therefore, it could have easily just be sewn up, not a big deal. So maybe that's the reason why he's not upset, because he knows that you ripped it on a seam, you can just sew it back up. So how's that a test? He was kind of already a little bit upset at the time, so therefore he wouldn't have noticed necessarily how he ripped it on the hem, and therefore he just wanted to see how he would respond. Would his anger, he's already angry, is going to channel that anger onto the father. So Mastil Rav Yecheskel Rami Bray. So Rav Yecheskel learned instead this to Rami, his son, Hanisrafim b'Niskolim. Let's you have Nisrafim b'Niskolim. So there's Arba Mises based, and there's different ways that if a person commits a crime, that sometimes it's a capital offense. Sometimes it's Sreifa, burning, and sometimes it's Skila. Now, listen to the language. Hanisrafim b'Niskolim. There's a mix of these people. Mashma says Rashi, Echad min hanisrafim, one person who had Sreifa, Nisarim b'Niskolim, Harbe. Which means there was, let's say, 10 people who were supposed to get Skila, one person of Sreifa, and they're all mixed together. There's 11. Now what do? It says Rashi, Kaimalon, Kol Chavi Misa Shabbatayra Shinis Arvu. If they got mixed up, we don't know who it is. Then Yodeh Ezmehem Bakala, which one is the lesser one? Ezmehem Bachamura, which one's more strict? Kulan Yedainu Bakal. We give all of them the lighter punishment. She'ein atarashai limshach hasakal l'oinish chomer shalon nisrayboy. You can't give someone who had a weaker punishment a stronger one, but we can give someone who had a stronger punishment a weaker one. That's what we do. So the question is, which one's weaker, which one's stronger? So it's actually machlokas. What's worse, sreifa or skila? There's Shimon Omer yidayin b'skila shesreifa chamura. What you should do is you should give skila, even though. And again, there's 10 of them. Most is rove anyway. But the reason is because skil is more chomer than sreifa, according to Shimon. Amar Rabbi Huda B'rei, Abba, lo tisne hachi. Don't teach it this way. Mi irias sreifa chamura. Who says that sreifa is more strict? Don't. Why you say that's the reason why? And that's the reason why you give skila. Typically, the Reuben is who. Maybe the reason why we're giving skila is because out of, let's say, the 11 people, 10 of them are definitely chayav skila. So according to the odds, just give them all skila. This is how you should read it. Haniskolim b'nisrafim. That even though you have niskolim, let's say one person with skila, mixed with 10 people with sreifa, which is a misa chamura, according to Rav Shimon, nonetheless, we'll still give skila. Even though it's a miut, there's only one guy, we'll still give everyone skila. Look at the seifa. You should give sreifa shaskil chamura, because skill is stronger. So in the area of the skill chamura, typically the Reuben disrupted who. You can say the same thing. Maybe it's just because there's more people who have sreifa, the way you changed it around. He's just responding to Rav Shimon. The Ka'amrit Sreifa Chamura Lo Skila Chamura. So the way it should have been written is the first person who stated the case to emphasize it's totally on what's more Chomer, Sreifa or Skila, and Rav Shimon says it's Sreifa is more Chomer, so you give Skila even though most of the people are Chayav Sreifa, but since they're mixed in this way, the din is you give them Skila. And even though the Rabbanan doesn't seem like much of a Chiddush, because obviously you're going to give, according to him, he holds you give skila. Maybe the reason why you would say, he says skila, the Rabban says you give sreifa, but maybe the reason you give sreifa is because 10 of them are chayav sreifa. Okay, again, that's not a question, because that is the way that they're just responding to the first shita. So that's the right way of speaking this way, Dad. You wise one. Well, don't speak to your father that way. Even if your father is violating or saying something wrong, don't say, Abba, avarta divrei. Don't be so, you're violating the Torah. So is written in the Torah. So kach chasab Torah, siri kamet. Aren't you still causing him anguish? The way they're framing it doesn't seem to be much nicer. El Abba mikra chasab Torah kach. So Rashi says, "Yermol hamikra kamoshu kasav who atzmo yavin shita." Basically, you just mention it and let him figure out his mistake. Instead of pointing out you made a mistake, you can say something in a way that he can now then on his own figure out that he made a mistake. But you have to be careful in the way you speak to your father. Elazar ben Masya Omer, he said, "Abba Omer hashkeni mayim." Let's say your father says, "Give me water." Mitzvah lasais, and yet you have another mitzvah to do. You're building a sukkah, right? And all of a sudden your father screams, "Hey, give me some water." Well, what do you do? Which one do you do? So I set aside my father's honor, but also as ha-mitzvah, I do the mitzvah. Shani ba'alba chayivan b'mitzvah, because we both have to do the mitzvah of, let's say, building a sukkah. Ismin Yehuda Omer, he says, not necessarily. Let's say someone else could build that sukkah for you, then tiyas. So let them do it, and then you can honor your father. So that's question 5. Let's look at question 5. So according to the first shita, so he says like this: mitzvah if it's a mitzvah that no one else could do, it's machlokas. It's a mitzvah that's esher lasos alidei cherim, someone could else do it, then kibbut av koidim. Okay. This is the same thing as question TA 29, so just look at it. Abba Omer hashkeni mayim mitzvah lasos mahadin. So l'tanakama oisas a mitzvah. Shiata v'avicha chayv ben ba. L'idach man di'omer is ben Yehuda yimesh lasos alidei cherim tiyasa alidei cherim v'yelachu b'chvayd aviv. It's much more clean to the language of what the Gemara said. That was TA 29. I like the way they answered that. Okay, let's see before we go weiter. Same question, TB30. So he says, Abba Omer hashkeni mayim v'yesh shofanav mitzvah cheres as mikanim. So this is what I wrote. Im yesh achar shiachal lasos is a mitzvah mutav shehem oisim a mitzvah v'yata machabed es abba. But im ein lav oisa mitzvah oisa mitzvah achach machabed es aviv. Okay. All right, that was TB 30. Basically the same question. Okay, let me just put this to the side. So we're done with this test. Okay, weiter the Gemara. So Amar Mas the halacha Yisib Yehuda. That takas the halacha. It's totally if it's efshel aso sadei acher. Rav Yitzchak bar Shila. Rav Masna. Rav Chisda. Hav shemachal kavod Michael. So we said this case before that the father is Michael and is covered. He's allowed to be Michael and is covered. However, Harav shemachal kavod ain't kavod Michael. A teacher cannot be Michael and is covered. Rav Yosef no. Feel Rav shemachal kavod Michael. A Rabbi could. Shnemar Hashem. It says that Hashem went before them in the day. So Hashem is like the greatest of all teachers, if you will, and Hashem like lowered himself by basically going in front of us. How can you compare them? It's Hashem's Torah, it's Hashem's world, the Torah delay, it's his Torah. So he has the ability to be Michael. Hashem could be Michael in his own covenant because everything is his, right? He's allowed to do this. Says Taisus, the Sarach Leimer Shahidia Kaidim L'chein the Machale Lemikre. Oh, okay. Fine. That had to do with the father being Michael in his covenant. Okay. Weiter. So Hashem has the ability to do such a thing. As we continue to Daf Lamed Gimel Lamed rather Beis Beis Hacha Torah Dilehi. This is Torah. So Hado Aimer Rava in Torah Dilehi. It's my Torah. It's my Torah too. It's my Torah that I'm going to toil day and night. It's not the case. So he was at this party, the beret of a son. The Dali Kastel Rav Papa. And he prepared a cup for Rav Papa. Rav Huna beret the Rav Yeshua v'kamu mikmei. He went to Rav Huna, the son of Rav Yeshua, and he stood up in front of him. Rav Mori, Rav Pinchas beret Rav Chisda v'loy kamu mikami. He did not stand up. So Ikmini got upset. Yomer Hanu Rabbanon V'Hanu Rabbanon Lav Rabbanon. These Rabbanon, these rabbis are not rabbis. Like, what are you doing? You're showing respect for them, not to them. Basu Rav Papa Havi Mashki Behilula the Abba Marberei. So he was at this wedding. V'Dali Le Kasa, and he poured him a cup. Rav Yitzchak Berei for his son, the son Berei to Rav Yehuda. V'Im Kam Mikamei V'Ikmid V'Loi Kam Mikamei V'Ikmid. He didn't stand up in front of him. He got upset. So if you'll hachi hider mevidle boy, you should still show some respect. You have to do something to show respect. Okay. Ravashi. If you'll mind, Rav Shemachal Kavod Michael, Nasi Shemachal Kavod Ein Kavod Michael. A Nasi doesn't have the ability to be Michael in his covenant. Meisvei. Is that true? Nasi can't be Michael in his own covenant. Masa Rebbe Lezer, Rebbe Yeshua, Rebbe Tzaddik. You had these three great rabbis, Shahim Asumim Beis Mishnah. They were at a party. Benoish Rabbi Gamliel, the son of Rabbi Gamliel. V'Hayi Rabbi Gamliel, Oymidu Mashkaleh, and he was giving them drinks. Rabbi Gamliel was. Nois in the Kais Rabbi Eliezer V'Lonatul. He didn't take it. Nos Rabbi Yeshua V'Kibu. Rabbi Yeshua was Makabel. Amar Rabbi Eliezer, Mazeh Yeshua, what are you doing? Ani Yoshimin Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Oymidu Mashkaleh. He's like giving us drinks. So Malay Matzinu Gadol Mimenu Shishimesh. What do you mean? Why can't Rabbi Gamliel the Nasi do this? I've seen greater people also do this. It's very interesting. We know, of course, the whole debate between Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua. And again, we see over here, Rabbi Yehuda, rather. Okay, so anyway. So Avram Gadol Mimenu V'Shimish. Avram Gadol Hadar Haya. Avram Avinu at his time was the greatest in his generation. Because of by who Oimid Alehim, he was standing in front of these angels. V'Shema Timer Kamal Chesharis Nidbulai, because they were angels, right? So he knew you're going to take care of angels. No, they looked like Arabs. They didn't look like angels. And nonetheless, he was clearly serving them. So he was Michael in his covenant. So we should also. So why can't he give us some drinks? So Amr Lahem Reb Tzaddik said, why are you forgetting about Hashem's honor? So you're thinking about Abraham. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mashib HaRuchais, he causes the winds to blow. Mal Nasim, he causes the clouds to go up. Umayrid Matar, he causes the rain to fall. Umatzmiach Adama, he causes the earth to sprout forth produce. We have tables filled with food. Everything is prepared for us. And we. So instead of you using Avraham Avinu as an example, use Hashem as an example. Again, you could ask the Shaila, as we said before, that hachihashta kuchibrichu al almadilehu v'tar dilehi machal mikre. Okay, and that's a good kasha why we can't just say the same thing over here, but nonetheless this is the dialogue. And at the very least, we see Avraham Avinu was moichel on his kavod. So on this, el iyat mar hachiyat mar. I'm Ravashi. Afil man dir menasi shemachal kavod kavod moichel melech shemachal kavod ein kavod moichel. However, when it comes to a king, no. When a king can never be moichel his kavod. Never. Some tasam lecha melech she'im masol lecha. There has to be an element of fear. And therefore, when it comes to a king, that is the exception. A king is not allowed to be moichel his kavod. Isn't Hashem a king? Okay, good question. Again, maybe Hashem is different, as we said. It's his world, so he can decide to be moichel. Tanaban. When they say v'takum, so there's a mitzvah of standing up in front of the elderly or a talmid chacham. Yachal afil mifnei zaken hashmoi. You would think even a zaken hashmoi. Rashi says, Asham Rasha ve'am aretz. Asham Rasha is a wicked person. Talmud number is zaken. Ve'in zaken el chacham. Has to be someone who's wise. Shnemer esfali shivim ish mizikni Yisrael. Gather some people who are the elders. So a zaken, as some people learn, is zeh shikana chachma. Right. So zeh from the zayin, and then kana is a kuf and a nun. So zeh shikana chachma. So therefore, it has to be someone who actually is worthy. Esveli shivim ish mizikni Yisrael. Rabbi Yosef Glili Omer ein zaken elami shekana chachma. A zaken is someone who has acquired wisdom. Shnemar Hashem kanani reishis darko. Yachal yamna mipana mimakam rachik. Maybe you have to stand up for him from far away. Talmud Omer tokav hadarta. Lo marti kima el b'makam sheish hidur. The only time you have to stand up is if there's actually honor being given. But if the guy is, you're in, in Madison Square Garden, he's on the other side, he's not going to have any idea that you're standing up for him. So there's no honor there. Maybe you have to not just stand up for him, but you also have to honor him by giving him money. Talmud talking about darta. Makim is standing up, shen b'chisar kiss, doesn't cost anything. Avhider shen b'chisar kiss. Honoring means without money. Maybe you have to stand up for him in the bathroom, bathhouse. The only place where there's honor. In the bathroom, there's not honor. Please, people are not honored there. Maybe close your eyes so you won't see him, right? You're not in the mood. I'm too tired to stand up. That when you stand up, you have to fear Hashem. It's something which is given over to the heart. In other words, Hashem knows what you're really thinking, what your intentions are. It says over there, you fear Hashem. How do we know, on the other hand, that he should go in a way to make people stand, rather better to go a different way? The zaken also has to show fear Hashem, and therefore he shouldn't try to go out of his way to cause people to stand up. Anyone, namely, even someone who Rashi says is zaken hashmoi, even a Rasha, you should stand up for him. Rabbi Yosef Glili had the Tanakama. If you're a young person but you're wise, that's what the machlokas is. Tanakama savar yanik v'chacham lo. Rabbi Yosef Glili savar feel yanik v'chacham. So it's not just age, but if you're wise, above your years, beyond your years, maybe stand up for him too. So my time to Rabbi Yosef Glili. So why does Rabbi Yosef Glili say even a wise young boy? If he holds like him, why do we split it up? The Rahman, why didn't we split it up? The high love high and the high love high. To tell you that they're not the same thing. You can be a zaken, or you can be a chacham, namely even if you are not a zaken. So Shemamina, I feel yanik v'chacham. But Tanakami misham deboy lemismach zaken v'reisa, as we said, because we want to teach the drush of zaken v'reisa. But Tanakama my time. So why did the Tanakama say what they say? The Torah should say as we continue to Lamed Gimel and Aleph. It's actually one thing. Okay, we're going to stop there. Let's see if we have another question somewhere around here. Question 6. Heichidami kima she'in ba hider. How do we find a case of kima where there's no hider? So if it's far away, barachlik, right? Chutz l'dal dalmas, or beis hakisei, beis hamerchatz. That's not considered to be kibud. Question. Okay, TA 30 we're going to get to. Haim sarach lokom mipnei rabba bebeis hamerchatz, and that we'll discuss. It sounds like the answer is no, but perhaps that's not necessarily the answer. We'll see the difference between bati gavoy, bati baroi. Ad kan.